everyone, good afternoon, and welcome back to Thorough Newspaper Analysis. Today is 8th of June, and this entire video series it's brought to you by LawSikho. So now let's head to the agenda for today. The first segment, which is the editorial segment, for it we've taken up an important article which is titled as Our Collective Pride. See, this is in light of the Pride Month celebration in the month of June. And here, essentially, we talk about the progress that we've made so far from last year when it comes to securing the rights of the queer community. We also have a look at the challenges that lie ahead of us before we can truly become an inclusive and equal society. Secondly, we talk about the important news updates of the day. And thirdly, we have a look at the important legal developments of the day. So, with this, let's dive into the TNA. And the first point of discussion would be the article titled as Our Collective Pride. Let's understand the why of this article first. See, Pride Month. It's back again in the month of June, and its celebration is in full swing. This time, we have another reason to be all the more aware of the rights of the queer community, and that is the hearing that recently got concluded before the Honorable Apex Court in batch of petition that sought legal recognition of homosexual marriage. Now, the entire country is waiting for the Supreme Court's verdict. As far as our TN is concerned, we've also done extensive coverage of this issue, and by now, I'm sure all of us are aware of the legal nuances that are involved in this matter and also the social connotations of it. In this light, let's understand the progress that we've made so far. For this purpose, we have a look at the very outset of at an important judgment of the Honorable Supreme Court, which came about last year. The Supreme Court expanded the meaning or the definition of the term woman, which is used in the Medical Termination of Pregnancy Act, to include transgender persons. I highly encourage all of you to go back and have a look at this judgment. And in case you do, on page number 5 or so, you will see that in the beginning of the judgment itself, the Supreme Court, the bench has categorically mentioned that in case that wherever we have a use of the word women or woman, then we would include not only a cisgender woman, but also others who are in need of medical facilities for the purpose of procuring a medical termination of their pregnancies or to say an abortion. So, what does this essentially mean? A cisgender woman would be a woman who is born as a woman and who also identifies herself as a woman. So, there's conformity when it comes to her anatomy and her sexual identity, the way she identifies herself as. So the Supreme Court essentially has done this, that it has said that whenever we use the term woman, we would mean not only a cisgender woman, but also others. Secondly, the Supreme Court has taken a couple of steps to make the judicial system queer inclusive. What are these steps? These steps are threefold. See, first, I'm sure all of you know that there are certain committees within the Honorable Apex Court. One such committee is this Gender Sensitization and Internal Complaints Committee. So the Supreme Court has expanded this committee by including a queer non-binary lawyer as its member. Secondly, the Supreme Court circulated a module last year at the end of it on the sensitization of people, the stakeholders of the court and others in general, when it comes to the concerns, the causes of the queer community. Uh, this document, I believe, is a very comprehensive document wherein you can get information about the judicial precedents which have identified the rights of the queer community, the legislations that we have in place, and also there is an important segment in this module which I personally found to be very useful when I was conducting my research on this issue, which is wherein they've provided a glossary of all the terminologies which we make use of whenever there is a discourse pertaining to the queer community. In case you happen to have any interest in this topic, I would highly encourage all of you to have a look at the module and particularly the segment where they talk about the important terminologies, the to-dos, the do's and the don'ts of it. Thirdly, the Supreme Court created universal restrooms in the court complex. That again is an appreciable effort. The third development is that the ambit of Ayushman Bharat, it has been increased to include transgender persons. Fourth update comes from the state of Maharashtra. So, see, there were two transgender persons. They wanted to appear for an exam for recruitment to the post of police constable in the state. However, they could not fill their form. Why? Because there were only two options. Either you identify yourself as a male or a female, and the option for the third gender was not given. So, they approached the tribunal concerned, which gave a verdict in their favor, but the state government felt aggrieved and the state government approached the Honorable High Court of Bombay. The Bombay High Court, before it, the state contended that the mechanism, the documentation that we have in place for the purpose of recruitment to the post of constable, it does not allow the induction of a transgender person. The High Court, however, directed the state government to come up with criteria for the purpose of such induction. As a result, the government of the state it formulated certain criteria for physical standards for transgender applicants for constable and driver posts. The applicants were, I believe, 73 in number, but none of them could make it to the post. However, this again is an applause-worthy effect in making the forces, the police forces, more inclusive and a greater representation of the queer community. Also, last year we saw some political developments also because there were two developments in this respect. First is Bobby Kinner became Delhi's first transgender municipal councillor, winning from Sultanpuri on an AAP ticket. Secondly, Kinner, another transgender person, also made history by becoming president of Nagar Palika Panchayat of uh, a place from the state of UP. So that is also an applause worthy stride that we made last year. Another update comes from the state of Karnataka. I'm sure all of you would vouch for the fact that there is a lot of harassment that the members of the queer community face when it comes to their interaction with the public at large. So, therefore, access to public facilities which are conducive to their needs and to their rights, it is very important. In this respect, the Karnataka government has introduced free bus rides for the transgender people. However, after having a look at all of these developments, we've seen some praiseworthy developments, but the greater picture still remains the same. There are a lot of challenges that needs our attention, that needs the attention of the judiciary, of the lawmakers, and these challenges are the issues that still plague the LGBTQIA plus community. It includes the absence of a central law that bans the inhuman practice of conversion therapy that we have in our country. Secondly, there is no regulation of sex normalizing surgery for intersex children, and also the demand for horizontal reservation within the community. It also requires serious consideration from the policymakers. There is this scheme which is operated by the Ministry of Social Justice and Welfare, which is called SMILE scheme. Under the scheme, the ministry concerned provided shelter homes which are called Garima Grihs. These are for transgender persons. However, recently the ministry has been facing a lot of flake due to restricting the fundings which came for this scheme. So before we part, this is what I have to say, which is that it becomes all the more important for all of us who are members of the legal fraternity to be aware of the rights of the queer community and to become better allies so that we can make their lives better. Before we start with the next segment, these are the two questions that I have. And I request all of you to please put down your answers in the comment section and be more participative. We're going to take up these questions in tomorrow's DNA. First question is, what is the name of this judgment? In case you want a hint, here it is. This judgment was extensively covered for breaking barriers and distinction in the right of an unmarried and a married woman in procuring abortion. So it eliminated all sort of distinction, and the court said that a woman who has gotten pregnant and conceived while being in a live-in relationship and is unmarried, she can procure the pregnancy under the whatever terms it is that the court has laid down. So I would really like all of you to write down the names of this judgment. Secondly, what is the name of this lawyer who has recently been inducted in this committee? And with this, let's proceed to the next segment for today. And now we proceed to the national news category for today. First update is this one. The Reserve Bank of India has launched financial inclusion dashboard, which is called Antardrihsti. As the name suggests, this dashboard will provide the required insight to assess and to monitor the progress of financial inclusion by capturing the relevant parameters. The dashboard, which is presently intended for internal use of the RBI, it will further facilitate greater financial inclusion through a multi-stakeholder approach. In case you've been firm with the thorough with the news, you would see that in 2021, RBI launched an index for this very purpose, and the index is called Financial Inclusion Index. Moving on to an update in the defense segment, the sixth edition of India-Maldives exercise Ekatha underwent. Ekatha, it is an annual exercise that is conducted between the two navies. The aim of the operation, it is to enhance interoperability in diving and special operations. In 2016, the two countries signed a comprehensive action plan. This was to consolidate defense partnership among the two nations. Between the two nations, India provides the largest number of training opportunities for Maldivian National Defense Force, meeting nearly 70% of their defense training requirements. President Droupadi Murmu, she has been conferred with the highest civilian award of Suriname. The president has become the first Indian to be conferred with this award, which is called Grand Order of the Chain of the Yellow Star. This was conferred upon her by her counterpart for the purpose of honoring the deep-rooted bilateral ties between the two nations. She dedicated the honor to the successive generations of Indian Surinamese community who have played a very pivotal role in enriching the fraternal ties between the two nations, and certain MOUs were also signed by the two nations. The Chief Minister of Maharashtra has launched Asia's largest cluster development scheme. This was conceptualized for the collective redevelopment of unauthorized and official dangerous buildings after the collapse of the Sairaj building in Thane. This incident claimed as many as 18 lives. The redevelopment township plan, it includes well-equipped health, educational spots, recreational parking, mandis, and other civic facilities. Colonel Suchita Shekhar, she has become the first Indian woman officer of the Army Service Corps to assume command as a Communication Zone Mechanical Transport Battalion. The battalion, which is responsible for maintenance of supply chain of the fully operational Northern Command, it plays a very pivotal role in Army logistics, including animal transportation. If we have a look at some of the other steps which were taken by the Indian Army to become more gender neutral and inclusive, earlier this year, 5 women officers successfully completed their training at the Officers Training Academy, OTA, in Chennai, and they joined the Regiment of Artillery. Other than that, Flight Lieutenant Shivangi Singh, the first woman pilot of the Indian Air Force to fly the Rafale fighter jet, she recently participated in the multinational exercise Orion in France. And this has brought us to the international segment for today. World's most powerful wind tunnel, it opens in Beijing. China has recently completed the construction of this tunnel, which is located in Huraiu district of northern Beijing. The wind tunnel, which is called the JF22, it has a diameter of 4 meters and can generate incredibly high airflow speed, which is up to 10 kilometers per second. The World Food Safety Day, it is celebrated every year on 7th of June for the purpose of highlighting the importance of maintaining food standards. The theme for this year was Food Standard Saves Lives. And with this, we proceed to the last segment for today, which is the legal news update segment. Person not named in the FIR can be added as accused if there is sufficient evidence of his involvement, the Honorable Apex Court has held. The Supreme Court upheld an order of the Allahabad High Court which dismissed an appeal which was filed by a person who was not named in the FIR under Section 14A, subsection 1 of the STSC Act against a summoning order to face the trial passed by a special court in exercise of its powers under Section 319 of the CRPC on the ground that the special court formed the requisite satisfaction prior to summoning the appellant to face trial with another accused. The name of this particular matter is Jitendra Nath Mishra versus State of UP and another. Next, we have an update from the High Court of Himachal Pradesh. So, dismissing a petition for invoking contempt proceedings against respondent wife for violating settlement terms with her husband, the Himachal Pradesh Court, High Court, it has held that parties have an indefeasible and absolute right to withdraw their consent for divorce by mutual consent under Section 13B of the Hindu Marriage Act. The name of this particular matter is Gurditta Ram Chauhan versus Mrs. Babita. And this has brought us to an end for today's DNA. In case you want to get access to the free study materials that LawSikho curates or the TNS slides that have been used in this video, I would highly encourage all of you to please join our Telegram channel. And for this very purpose, you may click on the link in the description or you may scan the barcode here. These are the point of contacts in case you want to get in touch with LawSikho. Please put down your answers in the comment section and we're going to take up those questions in tomorrow's DNA. Thank you for being with us.